Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking really an incredible source material. It just plunges you straight into this alternate world, a place where you've got these high-fidelity steampunk mechanics, brass and gears, but they're colliding like violently with this crushing machinery of totalitarian control.
Yeah, and dark magic, too. Can't forget the magic.
Right, and this creeping dread of dark, outlawed magic. It's quite a mix.
It really is. And this source, it's more than just a story, isn't it? It feels like a blueprint. Very detailed, very rigorous, showing a world built entirely on, well, calculated fear and this strict scientific dogma.
Okay.
So our focus today is really on tracing the journey of Aoife Grayson. She's this teenager, mechanically gifted, super smart in that way.
Right, engineer in the making.
Exactly. And we see her navigating this city, Lovecraft, which is constructed on just a colossal lie, centuries old, really. And through that, she discovers this hidden, frankly, terrifying truth about her own inheritance.
Which is magic.
Magic, yeah. The very thing her whole society has taught her is basically a biological plague, something to be feared and eradicated.
So the central tension, the real pressure point here, it's fear, isn't it?
Absolutely. Fear of contagion.
Specifically, this pervasive dread of an infection they call the necrovirus. And the state, the rationalists, they use this invisible creeping plague to enforce total control, intellectually, civically, everything.
Total control is the goal. So our mission, our deep dive here, is to understand the terrifying cost of maintaining that kind of societal grip.
Yeah, and maybe even more crucially, the catastrophic magical truth that's simmering just beneath the surface, what they're really afraid of.
Exactly. So we'll trace Aoife's path meticulously, I think. We start in, the ironclad conformity and cold stone of Lovecraft, this alternate Massachusetts.
Okay.
Then we follow her into the illicit underworld, the secret black markets where forbidden things are traded.
Right. The Nightfall Market.
Yeah, that's the one. Then to this mysterious, sprawling ancestral mansion called Greystone. Big Gothic thing.
Which holds its own secrets.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And finally, we'll need to analyze her climactic choices.
Yeah.
Because she ends up right at the heart of this world-shattering conflict between the scientific reality she knew and the magical one she discovers.
Okay, so let's start there. Let's unpack this oppressive setting first. Because it's not just like window dressing, is it?
Not at all.
This alternate 1950s steampunk state, it uses technology to enforce its cold ideology. Lovecraft is depicted as just miserable, cold, prevailing, almost suffocated by its own industry.
And the environment totally reflects that ideology. The city is literally defined by industrial dread. The source describes Lovecraft as constantly obscured by this heavy, almost cloying smoke.
The line about tasting winter on the back of your tongue?
Yeah, it's powerful. And that smoke, it's not just general pollution, it's specifically billows from the Nephilim foundry across the river, which signals that industry isn't just, a convenience here. It's the master of the environment. It's this perpetual sign of the rationalists dominating nature, dominating everything that isn't cold, hard science.
And the city runs on steam, but it's more than that. It pulsates with it. You mentioned the lifeblood of Lovecraft is this colossal kind of beating heart.
Yeah.
The Lovecraft engine.
Yes, the engine. A monument, really. Brass, iron, intricate mechanisms. And it's powered by something they call trapped ether.
So trapped ether. What exactly is that supposed to be in this world?
Well, for the rationalists, ether is this quantifiable energy source. Scientifically harnessable. It's rational power. The key word is trapped.
Implying control.
Exactly. They believe they've controlled it, neutralized any inherent wildness or uncertainty, made it subservient to their gears and their mathematics. It provides all the civic energy, light, motion for the city.
You feel it, right? The description says you feel its low, constant din under your feet.
Yeah, it's this perpetual mechanical presence, a subconscious reminder maybe of the state's power humming beneath you all the time.
Okay, so that brings us to Aoife herself. She's being trained at the Lovecraft Academy of Arts and Engines,
right,
which is built, kind of symbolically, out of these former stately homes and their outbuildings. The girls' dorm, it says, was a stable. Still smells faintly of hay.
Yeah, that juxtaposition is deliberate, I think. History, nature, repurposed for cold mechanism, it's everywhere.
And her education reflects that.
Completely. Hyper-focused on the quantifiable. Engineering, advanced mathematics, that's it. This isn't just career training, it's indoctrination.
How so?
It reinforces the core dogma. Only hard, verifiable science can be trusted. Anything else, anything vague, emotional, spiritual, certainly anything supernatural is framed as a direct threat to the foundation of the state itself.
And what is that foundation? Let's talk about the rationalists and the proctorate, this ruling body.
Their core dogma is repeated constantly. It's like this chilling mantra.
I pledge to remain rational and faithful to the foundations of science.
Laid down by my forefathers in defense of reason. That phrase, in defense, tells you everything. Rationality isn't just a way of thinking. It's positioned as a defensive weapon against some kind of existential enemy.
And the proctors are the soldiers wielding that weapon.
Exactly, the physical manifestation. The city's run by this Bureau of Proctors, and the whole organization seems to thrive on universal suspicion. Governance relies heavily on surveillance.
And informants.
Oh, yes. Insidiously so. The fear of betrayal by your neighbor, your friend, your roommate. The source is explicit. Merits will be granted to those who turn in their roommates.
Wow. Just think about the psychological pressure of that. Achieving success means actively monitoring and reporting on the person sleeping in the next bed.
It breeds this kind of paralyzing paranoia it's designed to.
And watching over it all is Head of City Grey Draven. His portrait is everywhere.
Everywhere. Piercing, severe, plastered on every available surface, constantly accusing citizens of shirking their duties. He's not just a leader. He's presented as this permanent, judgmental gaze, the embodiment of the state's scrutiny.
Draven promises absolute intellectual hygiene, I think the text says.
Yes, and the punishment for failing to meet that standard. It's terrifying. If you don't conform, if you're even suspected of heresy, the punishment is brutal and public.
Public burnings.
In Banishment Square, for engaging in what the proctors call pseudo-magic rites. Things specifically outlawed under the Ramsey Convention of 1914.
Let's pause on that. The Ramsey Convention. That's a specific historical marker. It suggests this war against the weird, as they later call it, isn't new. It has legal weight.
Absolutely. 1914. It grounds this regime in a specific historical conflict. It suggests this wasn't just an ideological shift. It was maybe the outcome of a war, a literal war against non-scientific thought that they are now prosecuting with steam and fire and public spectacle.
So the convention likely codified the belief that absolute rationalism was the only way to survive, to maintain order. Any metaphysical practice became treasonous.
Precisely. Which makes the Banishment Square burnings not just punishment, but ritualistic reinforcement. They're publicly destroying any reality that isn't the state's sole authorized one.
And all of this oppression, this control, this burning, it all hinges on one critical element.
The necrovirus.
The central anxiety. This virus is the ultimate justification, isn't it? The non-negotiable reason for the state's totalitarian actions. It functions as the perfect boogeyman.
It does. Causes incurable madness, creates the virally decimated. It's the explanation for everything that doesn't fit the rationalist model.
And for Aoife, this threat is intensely personal. It's not abstract.
Not at all. Her mother, Nerissa, is one of the virally decimated, locked away in a madhouse. And Nerissa's ramblings, which sound poetic or lyrical about the lily field, the dark tower, the maiden's fair, they're just dismissed as meaningless ravings, symptoms of the infection.
But the real terror for Aoife is the diagnosis she received from Dr. Portnoy.
Right. The idea that the Grayson family carries a latent infection, a known genetic fault line, a predisposition to this madness.
And the source material makes this a genuine countdown. Historically, members of the Grayson line supposedly start showing signs, the delusions, the viral spores eating their minds, precisely at age 16.
And Aoife is 16.
Right. So every strange dream, every moment of distraction, every slip of rationality feels like it could be the start. A terrifying confirmation of her impending doom.
And this fear of contamination, it's weaponized across the city daily. Contact with any viral creature, they mention ghouls, nightjars, spring-heeled jacks, is believed to cause madness instantly in a healthy person.
Though the source adds that little note. Sometimes it just causes a nasty case of influenza.
Yeah, that ambiguity is key, isn't it? It keeps the citizens constantly paranoid. Even a common cold could be framed as potential incipient madness. You can't trust your own body.
So this brings us to the core analytical insight here. The state's narrative of this invisible deadly plague. It's just a masterclass in social control.
Absolutely. It justifies the constant surveillance. It mandates social division, who's healthy, who's latent, who's fully decimated. And most importantly, it mandates the absolute rejection of all non-scientific thought.
Magic spells, fortune-telling. All of it is deemed heretical, Dangerous.
Not because the proctors necessarily believe it's fake, we find out later that's definitely not the case for Draven, but because it defies the scientific foundations they need to maintain their authority.
They use the shame and the fear of the infection, the dread of becoming mad like Aoife's mother.
Exactly. To keep the populace docile, intellectually compliant. Aoife's professor literally says the virus is used to defend the city against the heretics who would fill your heads with fancy notions like magic spells and fortune-telling.
The cost is total intellectual freedom. But, when the pressure's that immense, something eventually has to break. And for Aoife, that break comes from the one person she thought was lost to that very madness. Her brother, Conrad.
Yes. Despite that overwhelming pressure, psychological and civic, Aoife's carefully constructed world finally cracks open thanks to this catalyst, a simple, coded message from Conrad.
It had been gone a year, right? Deemed mad, escaped the proctors before they could lock him up like his mother.
That's right. And the letter Aoife gets, initially it just contains one word, H-E-L-P. Simple, desperate.
If she'd stopped there, maybe things would have been different.
Maybe. But Aoife, she's an engineer, a scientist trained in logic, but she also has this inherent curiosity she shared with Conrad. He taught her things, didn't he? Tricks, forbidden stories.
Yes, sleight of hand, things outside the curriculum.
So she knows there's more to the message. She uses ghost ink.
Ah, the ghost ink. Contraband, tricky stuff.
Very. Requires extremely controlled heat to reveal its secret message. And she has to do this hiding in the deserted academy library. The danger is palpable.
You can feel the tension. Too much heat, the paper just combusts, secret gone forever. It really highlights her core identity at this point, doesn't it? She's a scientist using illicit, almost magical technology, violating the rules, risking everything, but for family.
And the decoded message. It's a set of desperate instructions. Go to Greystone, find the witch's alphabet, and save yourself.
Followed by those numbers.
The cryptic string, 31, 10, 13, the moment she touches that ghost ink, the moment she scrawls those numbers on her hand to remember them, she's crossed a line. She's in an immediate transgression.
Communicating with a madman. Dealing with magic. Capital offenses in Lovecraft.
Absolutely. And this act immediately forces her out of the quote-unquote safe, controlled boundaries of uptown Lovecraft. She needs a way out.
So she and her friend Cal, they venture outside curfew into the Rustworks, this chaotic industrial wreckage zone.
To find the Nightfall Market, which is described as this pulsing, secretive hub, a complete inversion of Lovecraftian order. It's loud, vibrant, full of illicit laughter and noise, the opposite of the city's cold silence. It's where you buy outlawed magic artifacts, illegal engine parts, moonshine, anything the rationalists deem an affront to science.
And most importantly for Aoife, a guide. Someone to get her out of the city.
Right, and this is where they meet Dean Harrison, a stranger described with distinctive silver eyes. And they immediately run into trouble.
Doorlock.
Doorlock, this sinister figure with a gruel arm, apparently trafficking people for meat. It's brutal.
And Dean steps in.
He does, moves with this kind of artful, protective efficiency. It instantly signals to Aoife that she's entered a much more dangerous, but maybe also more honest world than the one the proctors control.
Dean's revealed to be a smuggler, a bit of a huckster maybe.
Yeah, but he operates under this strange, almost archaic code of ethics, which becomes clear when Aoife asks his price for guiding them to Arkham to Greystone.
He refuses money.
Flat out refuses it. Says for an academy girl like her, money's meaningless. He says, only blood will do.
Which sounds terrifying initially.
Yeah. It does. But then he clarifies. He demands that Aoife must eventually tell him her biggest secret.
Not money, but a secret.
A secret. And he insists this isn't just leverage. It establishes a sacred, serious bond. He's rejecting the rationalist basis for exchange money, efficiency, and demanding a bond based on absolute risky trust.
This blood oath, effectively.
Yeah.
It's her first real step into accepting a contract based on faith, on risk. A huge offense against the proctor's quantifiable laws.
And that shift from scientific exchange to this sacred bond, it perfectly sets the stage for what happens next. Their journey immediately forces them to confront the absolute limits of rationalist science.
They start crossing the divide. Dean takes them towards the river to cross the night bridge.
And Aoife, the engineer, instantly objects. This is impossible. She knows the Babbage Bridge collapsed 30 years ago. During a nor'easter, 21 people died. It's a known historical fact.
Yet the bridge is solid under their feet. How does Dean explain this impossibility?
He says the bridge exists as an illusion, Or perhaps more accurately, it's held in place by the memory, the resonance of those deaths. He says the specific, catastrophic nature of the event means it still resonates in the ether to this day.
Whoa. So the bridge is made of memory. Tragedy.
Something like that. And he adds this chilling detail. Now that the bridge has seen Aoife, registered her presence, it could keep her soul forever if she tried to turn back now.
That's an immense challenge to her whole worldview. She's walking across something that shouldn't exist, held together by some kind of unsanctioned magic, maybe using the same ether the rationalists think they've trapped and controlled.
Exactly. And Dean himself seems to embody elements of this forbidden reality. He hints at it with his own peculiar talents, his knack, he calls it.
The knack, what does it do?
It's the ultimate anti-science tool. Dean always knows true north, instinctively no compass needed, and when something's lost and needs finding, he says it just calls out to him.
An innate, non-quantifiable sense.
Yes. And it's the first clear, functional foreshadowing we get of the existence of the weird, this unpredictable, unquantifiable, magical reality the rationalists are so desperate to deny.
But the danger from the Iron World, from the Proctors, it's still very real, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. They managed to get passage on an airship, the Berkshire Belle, which itself has a history, an old enemy transport hijacked during some past war, now run by a Captain Harry.
Okay.
But on board, we get the first hint of betrayal that Dean's strange oath didn't cover.
Someone's a spy.
Alouette, one of the pilots. The suspicion is confirmed when Aoife spots the Raven's wings insignia, the mark of the Proctor it's subtly displayed.
And this leads to
a terrifying aerial confrontation. Proctor Mustangs, these advanced military aircraft, intercept and target the Berkshire Belle. The Proctors clearly have serious hardware.
So the airship crashes.
It does. Forces Aoife, Dean, and Cal to make the rest of the journey to Greystone on foot. The Iron World definitely doesn't give up its defectors easily. She's not just running from a potential madness diagnosis anymore. She's fleeing a fully weaponized state.
Okay, so after that harrowing escape, the crash, the trek, they finally reach Greystone. This mansion belonging to our absent father, Archibald Grayson, sitting ominously on a cliff overlooking Arkham.
And the house itself is just dripping with atmosphere. It's practically a character, described as a house of bones.
Tell us about the architecture. It sounds intense.
It's pure, macabre Gothic, but with this mechanical twist. Black spires, pitch gables, these finger-thin twin turrets that look like they're digging claws into the granite skin of the mountain.
Wow.
And the windows are described as eyes of thick blue leaded glass, staring down like some kind of brooding leviathan. It's a place where science, her father was an inventor, remember, and history, and maybe something darker, have fused in this really unsettling way.
And Aoife arrives feeling vulnerable, right? Fearing she's Archie's bastard child, that he might reject her.
Yeah, there's that personal anxiety, but the urgency of Conrad's notes, finding that Witch's alphabet overrides it, she has a mission.
Her first major clue takes her to the library and the clockwork heart of the house.
Yes, this room is just utterly dominated by a Leviathan clock, described vividly as a machine of bloody teeth.
Not just a clock, then.
Oh, no. It's practically an altar to everything the rationalists hate. Its face features heretical paintings, maidens, a goat-bodied man, figures wearing the sign of Hastur, the Yellow King, all things explicitly outlawed, condemned by the Ramsey Convention. This clock is defiance.
And Aoife, the engineer, she gets Conrad's instruction from the Ghost Ink. Fix it.
Right. And she initially thinks, okay, repair the clockwork, but then she realizes it's bigger than that. The entire house is a vast, interconnected machine. A living machine, almost. And she needs to understand it, not just fix one part.
She starts working on the colossal gears.
And her mechanical skill, her rationalist training, ironically, pays off here. She discovers a hidden brass panel behind the clock face, the house's secret heart.
And this panel has controls.
Dials and switches, labeled in her father's neat handwriting. Controls for the library, the front hall, cellar traps, and then the really ominous one, lockdown.
Lockdown. And it's bookended by PSI valve dials.
Yes. That detail is crucial for anyone paying attention. PSI, pounds per square inch. Pressure. It suggests the lockdown isn't just, locking the doors, it's pressurizing the house.
Possibly with ether. Like the Lovecraft engine, but for defense.
That seems very likely. It confirms the house's systems are powerful, kinetic, designed for serious defense against something far beyond simple locks.
And it's here, in the heart of this defensive machine, that the secret of her family, the meaning of those numbers, is finally revealed.
Yes. The weird and the gateminder. She finds her father's journal, labeled precisely 311013, the number's Conrad Center.
Confirmation.
Total confirmation. And inside, entries discussing something called the Iron Codex, the witch's alphabet Conrad mentioned, and Archibald Grayson's duty as the 14th gateminder.
Gateminder. So her father wasn't just an eccentric inventor hiding from the proctors.
No, he was a guardian of a gateway between worlds. That's the implication.
And the act of inheritance, when she touches the journal, it's described as brutal.
Painfully specific. The moment she touches the book, the paper pulses, feels warm, and the ink magically marks her palm with this excruciating heat. Ice hot, it says.
And this transmits something.
His memories. And confirms her inheritance. Not the necrovirus, but the weird. Which we now understand isn't a disease, it's an innate ability, a magical power passed down the Grayson line.
How does this weird manifest in her, the former rationalist engineer?
It's described in terms she can understand, mechanical and sensory terms. The weird allows her to feel the parts of Greystone. She connects to the iron, the clockwork, like it's her own nervous system.
Like an ether vox in her head.
Exactly.
Right.
Receiving signals through metal, through the machine of the house. Her engineering background suddenly becomes the conduit for her magic. It's a fascinating synthesis.
And she immediately has to put it to the test, doesn't she?
Almost instantly.
Yeah.
The moment is validated when this unnatural creature attacks her in the attic. An owl, but wrong somehow, with sick, watery bronze feathers.
Not a normal animal.
Definitely not. And Aoife uses her newfound power, this connection to the house, to activate a trap in the attic. Kills the entity.
Definitive proof.
Undeniable. Her power isn't the necrovirus causing madness, it's the weird, allowing her to manipulate the mechanical fabric of reality, or at least of Greystone. And the threat is real, non-viral, non-human. The very things Draven and the rationalists deny exist.
But the danger escalates dramatically when she leaves the house, ventures outside into the woods.
Yes. Away from the protection of the mechanical house, she enters a purely magical domain. She gets trapped by a hexen ring.
An enchantment circle. Like a fairy ring.
Essentially, yes. Defined here by this thick, disorienting mist. And the key effect is severe time dilation.
How severe?
Inside the ring, only about 10 minutes pass for Aoife. But outside, 10 hours have elapsed. Dean and Cal have been desperately searching for her the whole time. It immediately underscores the peril, the sheer unpredictability of this magical world she stumbled into.
And inside this time warp space, she meets someone. Or something.
She meets Tremaine. The ultimate threat, perhaps, to the rationalist order she just escaped.
Who is Tremaine?
He's described as pale, razor-thin, a figure of the kindly folk.
Kindly folk, that sounds nice.
Deceptive name, also called Daewin City or Elven. He's the regent of Thorn, which seems to be the name of their realm. And Ao immediately senses he is worse than most. He's smooth, powerful, predatory, not kindly at all.
And he doesn't offer help, does he? He issues a demand.
Immediately raises the stakes. From her personal survival to something much bigger, he reveals his motive. He requires a Grayson, specifically one capable of using the Gateminder's power.
Why? What does he want her to do?
To break a curse. A curse placed on two sleeping queens, one fair, one dark, held in glass coffins submerged in a lily field nearby.
Wait, the lily field, like from her mother's mad rambling.
Exactly. Nerissa's stories weren't madness. They were memories or prophecies of Thorn. These queens apparently govern this magical land, and Tremaine needs Aoife's specific power to free them.
And the stakes if she refuses.
Non-negotiable. Tremaine explicitly threatens to hunt down Dean and Cal, to savage them, if Aoife doesn't comply. He dangles information about Conrad's location, but only if she agrees to be the curse breaker.
So she's completely trapped. The totalitarian state wants to execute her for her power. The magical folk want to exploit her power to potentially destroy that state.
Caught in an impossible vice. Between the Iron World and Thorn, it's a profound moral test. Choose loyalty to her new friends, or loyalty to the only reality she ever knew, even if it was a lie.
Which leads her to make a really radical decision.
It does. Faced with Tremaine's ultimatum, instead of submitting to the folk, she makes a choice based on, well, her perceived lesser of two evils, maybe, or a desperate gamble.
She decides to turn herself in, back to the Proctors and Lovecraft.
Yeah, offering herself up as the wanted fugitive, the infected Grayson, hoping this will somehow protect Dean and Cal from the immediate magical danger posed by Tremaine and the folk.
She goes back expecting what? Interrogation, the madhouse, execution. Hoping the known cruelty of the Iron World is somehow preferable to the unknown horrors of Thorn.
But she gets far more than she bargained for. An audience with head of City Grey, Draven himself, at Raven House, the Proctor headquarters. And this is where he reveals the Proctor's lie, and maybe Draven's own madness.
This is the moment the whole foundation cracks.
Shatters. Graven is waiting for her, and he lays out the horrific 70-year-old truth. The necrovirus is a complete lie, fabricated, a convenient label.
He tells her, what was the line? Witchcraft, spiritualism, necrovirus. They're all poison.
Yes. Just different human names for the same otherworldly phenomenon, this invading plague or magic. Draven, the supposed pinnacle of rationality, admits he's fully aware of the folk, the weird, the mists beyond the veil.
So why the lie? Why the 70 years of terror and oppression based on a fiction?
He claims it was necessary. He allowed the madness narrative to continue for one purpose: to maintain the separation of the lands, to keep the Iron World, our world, separate from the Land of Thorn.
A quarantine.
A brutal, totalitarian quarantine. Draven, in his twisted logic, saw his cruel state as the only way to protect humanity from Thorn's influence, from its creatures. He's terrified of Archibald Grayson, Aoife's father, labeling him a traitor for consorting with the folk, for trying to bridge the worlds, thereby endangering everyone.
The source implies Draven isn't just cold calculation, though. There's a hint of genuine madness in him, too.
Yes, a desperation. His face supposedly blurs with something else as he speaks of his terror. He seems like a man clinging to what he sees as a painful necessity, maybe driven half mad by the burden of the secret and the threat he perceives.
And his plan for Aoife now?
To use her as bait. Honey, he calls it. You know she has the weird. He mentions the Raven House walls are charged with enchantment to suppress it. He wants to lure Archibald out of hiding.
This confirms everything. The rationalists weren't fighting a plague of the mind. They were fighting a real, magical war, but they chose lies and cruelty as their weapons.
And the betrayals just keep piling up. Aoife is dragged down to the catacombs below Raven House.
And finds Cal, beaten but alive.
Yes, which forces Calvin Dalton to reveal his true identity.
This must have been a devastating blow for Aoife.
Huge. Far worse than the virus lie, probably. Cal confesses he's a ghoul. Or a carver, specifically maybe suggesting a particular type, capable of wearing human skin.
A ghoul? Her friend?
And a spy. He admits Draven blackmailed him 2 years earlier to spy on Aoife, to keep her under his eye.
Why? What was Draven's leverage?
Cal's family, his ghoul family, they live underground in a nest. Cal spied on Aoife in exchange for Draven promising to protect his family's hiding place from Proctor raids, from the burnings. His loyalty was completely torn.
Not malice then, but protection for his own kind.
Exactly. But the revelation that the virus is a lie, that his friend is a spy and a ghoul, and critically that Draven clearly sees all of them, ghouls included, as disposable pawns, it breaks Cal's resolve.
Right.
He despairs.
But Aoife, she hasn't abandoned him.
No, incredibly, she leverages the situation. She turns the betrayal into a new kind of desperate alliance. She insists that Cal, now understanding Draven sees him and his family as cannon fodder, has to run with her and Dean.
She convinces the ghoul who betrayed her that they need each other to survive, forging this bond based on shared danger, mutual exclusion from both the Iron World and maybe even Thorn.
It's a powerful moment, and they manage to escape. Using Cal's knowledge of the city's underbelly, the old sewer main beneath the cells, they slip out of Raven House.
And where do they go?
Cal takes them to his people. The people of Ghoul, living in a disused jitney tunnel beneath the city. The Ghoul Nest.
The source describes this place, doesn't it? What's it like?
It's a subterranean world. Smells of burnt meat and wood smoke, the text says. But it's not just chaos, it's a community. Aoife meets Cal's ghoul mother, his brother Toby. It's a place of necessary hiding, a hidden society.
And there's that detail about the ceiling.
Yeah. The miniature solar system. Made from broken lamp globes nailed to the roof of the tunnel. It's poignant, isn't it? Even these creatures, branded as monsters, as viral horrors by the surface world, they're still looking up, creating their own stars. It humanizes them completely.
And further indicts Draven's regime for its calculated dehumanization. So now the new team is formed. Aoife, the engineer with the weird, Dean, the smuggler with the knack, and Cal, the carver ghoul with insider knowledge. They need a new plan.
The new plan, the secret of the steam. They realize the only way to fulfill Tremaine's bargain, breaking the curse on the queens, which Aoife now feels obligated to do to save Dean and Cal from Tremaine's wrath, requires a massive, disruptive act back in Lovecraft.
How do they even get close to doing anything major?
Aoife combines her skills, her engineering knowledge, and her connection to the weird. She identifies a vulnerability, a cracked, unguarded steam pipe leading into the Lovecraft engine works. marked with the engine's sickle and gear logo. It's the only way in without facing the full force of the proctors.
And the plan itself, it sounds incredibly dangerous.
It's basically suicidal. They have to infiltrate the engine itself, trip the main pressure alarms to force a massive evacuation, which the text describes as potentially catastrophic, flinging gears and rods at hundreds of psi.
It's creating chaos.
Exactly. And in that chaos, Aoife plans to secretly use her weird right at the engine's glass heart, presumably to channel its power towards Thorn and break the curse. This isn't just about escape anymore.
No, this is potentially an act of domestic terrorism against the very source of her civilization's power and stability.
Knowing the potential cost, knowing it could destroy Lovecraft, all to save her two friends from the folk. The moral ambiguity is immense. She's choosing to potentially sacrifice the stability of thousands, the very stability Draven fought 70 years to maintain, however cruelly, for the lives of two individuals.
It's a choice driven entirely by loyalty now, not ideology.
Which leads us to the climax, the iron world cracking open. Aoife and Dean make their infiltration. Through the pipes, the corridors, wearing thick fire suits against the heat and potential steam jets, the tension must be unbearable.
And inside the final destination, the Lovecraft engine. She sees it not just as a machine anymore, but as this monument to her old life, her former scientific faith.
A planetary assembly of colossal gears, those 4 glass hearts full of glowing blue ether, and as she gets close, her weird reacts powerfully.
It thuds violently at contact.
Yes, it confirms her ability to connect, to manipulate its massive power. The machine is responding to her, to the magic in her bloodline.
But then there's another twist. A final moral pivot. She gets a vision, a plea.
From the engine itself. It speaks to her somehow in a language of machines and power. And she understands. Her actions won't just break the curse, they will shatter the barrier between worlds. The quarantined Draven was so desperate to maintain.
The engine asks her to do something specific.
It urges her to channel its impending great death blast, the energy release from her intervention, away from the innocent workers of Lovecraft, directing it towards Thorn instead, to save the city from immolation.
So she's at this terrible junction again. Fulfill Tremaine's bargain, exactly, save her friends, but probably destroy Lovecraft in the process. Or heed the engine's plea, save Lovecraft, but maybe fail Tremaine and doom Dean and Cal.
She tries to find a third path. A compromise, maybe, driven by both loyalty and mercy. She chooses to fulfill the kindly folks' bargain, but she attempts to control the destruction.
Ow.
She cuts her own palm with Dean's switchblade, offers her blood, the gate-minder blood, to the etheric chamber, focusing the engine's stored power, channeling it, she hopes, primarily into the infrastructure of Thorn, where the queens are.
But the cost to Lovecraft, it's still catastrophic, isn't it?
Instantaneous and catastrophic. The engine goes into a violent death spasm, colossal gears foul, pressure vents explode all across the city. Lovecraft is instantly engulfed in scalding steam, utter chaos.
And the barrier.
It falls, the gates are breached, and the horrors Draven warned of, the ones he used the virus lie to contain nightjars, spring-heel jacks, maybe worse, are instantly loosed onto the terrified population. In broad daylight, the consequence is stark. Thorn's children would feast.
Her action, intended as a targeted rescue guided by loyalty, triggers the very apocalypse. Draven's 70 years of tyranny were designed, however brutally, to prevent.
It's the ultimate irony, and now they have to flee. The flight into the mists. Dean drags the exhausted Aoife away from the engine gates, where mobs of workers are already being attacked by these newly freed creatures.
They escape to the river.
And are rescued, miraculously perhaps, by Captain Harry and the Berkshire Belle, the airship somehow aloft again. They watch Lovecraft burn behind them, its control structure, its entire reality, literally incinerated by steam and magic.
The final scene is just total breakdown.
Complete collapse. They return to the relative safety of Arkham, find Greystone itself is okay, protected by its own mechanisms, perhaps, but the nearby village is already being ravaged. Ghoul howls, nightjars hunting, Thorn has arrived.
And there's one last strange moment with Conrad.
Yes. He appears to her, but he's spectral now, transparent. Maybe one of her weird conjurations, her dreams made manifest in this breached reality. Or maybe his spirit finally free.
He's no longer physical, but he gives them one last instruction.
He serves as the final guide, urges them, flee! Into the mists, now.
The mists. The space between worlds.
That seems to be it. With the iron world collapsing behind them and the magical world of Thorn rushing in to fill the void, Aoife, Dean, Cal, still in his ghoul form presumably, and Bethina, another survivor from the crash perhaps, step off the cliff into this vast and windy emptiness.
And as they fall,
They see visions. Burning Lovecraft, shattered glass coffins, a curse is broken, the queens are free, the story ends right there, them falling into the mists, passing worlds beyond number, abandoning the structured, known, fearful reality for infinite, terrifying possibility.
Okay, wow. Let's unpack the immense weight of that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
We started with the city, Lovecraft, completely totalitarian, built entirely on the lie of a necrovirus.
Mm-hmm. A lie designed specifically to crush curiosity, enforce conformity, maintain this cold, mechanical existence.
And then we discovered the state leader, Draven, knew all along. Knew magic, the weird, was real. That the entire Rationalist Foundation was just this desperate 70-year attempt to quarantine an invading magical world.
It's a complete inversion, isn't it, of accepted knowledge within that world. Aoife's supposed madness, her dreams, her mother Nerissa's ramblings, the latent infection she feared that was the truth, her natural connection to these other forces.
Well, the rational world, the engineering, the proctors, the quantified science, that was the delusion, or rather the necessary, deliberate delusion required for fragile human survival within that specific self-imposed quarantine.
And the ultimate tragedy, the thing you really have to sit with, is that the moment Aoife finally embraces her authentic power, the weird, she does it for what she sees as the moral good, saving her friends.
But in doing so, she annihilates the very protective mechanism, however cruel and dishonest it was, that kept the human world separate and, in a way, safe. Her loyalty, which grew out of the failure of the scientific world to protect her or tell the truth, ensures the end of that world.
So what does this incredible source material maybe suggest for you, the listener, especially when you're dealing with information overload in our own world?
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
It really compels you to always question the source and the purpose of the fear being manufactured around you. The necrovirus, this specter of madness, it was just a shield, wasn't it? A distraction used by Draven to hide a completely different and maybe deeper truth, the reality of the folk, the weird, the other worlds.
So you have to constantly ask, is the information system, the political structure, the narrative you rely on, is it truly serving stability? Or is it maybe concealing a reality that, if exposed, would destabilize its own power base? That's a heavy question.
It is, and it raises another important question right at the heart of survival, really. When the pillars of your reality crumble, when science fails you, when friends betray you or reveal themselves as something else entirely, when leaders are madmen, what anchors you? What do you hold on to?
For Aoife, that anchor shifts completely, painfully.
It moves away from the cold, predictable gears of science and the promise of a sterile, controlled future towards the messy, complicated, entirely unreliable bombs of loyalty.
With Dean, the pragmatic heretic who operates on trust.
And incredibly, even with Cal, the ghoul who betrayed her but found his own kind of humanity, his own loyalty in their shared danger and friendship. That choice, prioritizing messy human or ghoul loyalty over calculated survival, that's what ultimately guides her hand at the engine's core.
And the final emotional weight, I think, is that personal journey for Aoife. Just consider how much of her young life was absolutely dictated by fear. Fear of her own bloodline, fear of turning 16, fear of the necrovirus, claiming her sanity like it supposedly claimed her mother's.
She was terrified of that diagnosis, of what was inside her. Yet she finds that the very thing she was told would destroy her. The weird was actually the one thing that made her truly powerful, truly effective. The gateminder, the curse breaker.
So the final provocative thought for you to maybe mull over is your greatest perceived weakness, that trait, that history, that part of yourself you're maybe terrified will expose you or break you. Is it possibly, actually, your greatest untapped strength? Something to explore on your own.